So please welcome to the stage the one and only Senator Pauline Hanson.
Wow, I haven't seen a crowd like this for about 23 years. So I used to have big meetings like this when people came out and it just died. Fantastic to see so many people because this is the biggest issue that's affecting our country at the moment and you, the people. So good on you, this is about people power. I'm going to explain to you my job as a senator. You have the two houses, you have the House of Representatives and you have the Senate. I'm now in the Senate. The Prime Minister is in the lower house. He has the numbers to pass the legislation through to the Senate. The Senate is basically the House of Review. So they have to have the numbers in the House, in the Senate, to get their legislation through. The Prime Minister doesn't. He's 3 votes short of getting his legislation through. Unless he has the support of the Labor Party. And he doesn't always have it because that's only about 50% of the time that he does get the support of the Labor Party. So you then have the Greens. They've got 9 seats. You've got 3 independents. And you've got 2 One Nation. So you see, he needs my 2 votes plus 1 more from the independents, either Jackie Lambie, Rex Patrick or Sterling Griff, to get his legislation through. So I'm in a very powerful position. And that has been the case for years now, that he's needed our vote since I was re-elected in 2016. 2 weeks ago, and this has been, I just haven't turned up here at the last minute just to be seen, okay? I've been fighting about this since last year when I tried to get the government to take it to the High Court and challenge the premiers about shutting down our borders. I have constantly spoken out against this on any TV programs that I can be on, whether it's Sky, interviews that I've done. Even I was on Kyle and Jackie O and talking to them. And when I was making comments, they were actually bipping me out until someone sent a text message to Kyle and said, "Why are you bipping her out?" And Kyle then said, "Hold on a minute, I've just got a text message, they're actually shutting her down." He said, "Why the hell are we shutting her down? She's a senator, she has a right to an opinion, she has a right to tell us what is going on, but you're shut down." Here we have a big meeting tonight, about 1,400 people. Where is the media? Where is the media report this? They're shut down, they're not interested in putting this across so the rest of Australia can see the rise that is happening of people against this mandating of vaccines. Now, as I said, 2 weeks ago, I put up a private members' bill to actually, it's about mandating vaccines, that you can't mandate vaccines, and also the fact is that you can't discriminate against someone who's vaccinated or not vaccinated. The Thursday before we went back to Parliament, on the Monday, I put in a call, excuse my voice, I put in a call to the Prime Minister to have a talk with him about it. I had the talk with him and he said, "Look, I've seen your bill." He said, "I do have some problems with it." And he said it's not constitutional because part of the bill, I also said the Commonwealth was to withdraw funding to the states if they are going to discriminate against the people. And he said, "I have a problem with that." And I said, "Well, if you have a problem with it, then change it. You've got the Solicitor General, you've got the Attorney General, you've got the resources, then if you're not happy with that, change it. I don't care what the hell you do with it, but at least do something to rein in the premiers and stop this mandating the vaccinations and also discriminating against people. He told me that he would actually have a look at it and get back to me. Never heard from him again. But I will say they did give me the time to put my bill up. It was put on the floor on the Monday morning. There was only, and I asked him, I said, will you allow the members of your party to have a conscience vote? He said, well, we allow them to cross the floor anyway. So 5 of the coalition crossed the floor to support my bill. And I will name them. Jared Rennick is, he's a Liberal senator. He's not up for re-election at this time. He's a bonzer of a fella, he really is. He is, true to his word. He's so intent with this as I am that he has vowed not to vote for government legislation at all, and either have I and Malcolm Roberts, Senator Malcolm Roberts, who is my colleague with One Nation, we have vowed not to vote for any government legislation until this is sorted out. So we've actually put it... Alec Antic, he's from South Australia. You also had Matt Canavan, Queensland Senator Matt Canavan. You've had Sam McMahon from Northern Territory, and you have Connie Fierravanti-Wells. They had the guts to stand up for what they believed in across the floor. Why I introduced the bill is for 2 reasons. The Prime Minister's come out and said he can't mandate vaccines. That's right, he can't, because under section 51(23)(a) of the Australian Constitution, it states that you can't impose civil conscription for medical procedures. So you see it goes against the Constitution. That's why Morrison has not mandated vaccines. But he's let the premiers do his dirty work for him. The Labor Party, now, not one of them, or the Greens, have actually supported anything to do with this bill. As a matter of fact, the bill went down, but I put it up 3 times in that 2 weeks of sitting for it to go to a Senate inquiry so you, the people, could have your say, put in your submissions, talk to the members of Parliament how this is affecting you. It went down by 1 vote. It was opposed by the Labor, the Greens, Jackie Lambie, Rex Patrick and Sterling Griff. 1 vote, and it would have given you a voice. 3 times it went down. Hopefully next year I'm going to try and get the bill. I'll change it, and I will still push to have that bill. Why I'm pushing the bill? Under section 109 of the Australian Constitution, it states that if you have 2 laws, a federal law and a state law, and they are conflicting, the federal law will override the state. So if we bring the bill in where it states you can't vaccine mandate and you can't discriminate, that way it can actually be challenged and you can stop the premiers from doing what they're doing. That is why we need to do it. I was asked to say that Andrew Lemming did want to come here tonight, but he couldn't. He's actually, he is totally opposed to vaccine mandates, my understanding. So anyway, I just passed it on about Andrew Lemming. The TGA, look, I'm not an anti-vaxxer, but I'm definitely pro-choice. And no one has the right to tell me what goes into my body. I'm at the age that I am, and I keep a pretty bloody good health, and you think I'm going to put something in my body that doctors are telling me there's shit in it, and if I'm not going to put that into my body. And I have no intentions of listening to these bureaucrats, these academics who actually, they're not the true scientists, they're pushing their own agenda. I've seen it for years in politics, and if you've known me over the years, I'm pretty outspoken, I stand my ground on many things. So no one will actually tell me. It is the fight of our life, because another thing that I've got to tell you, and the research and information that's been given to me, the TGA has received about 80,000 adverse side effects from the COVID, from the vaccine. Of that, these people had other medication, they were taking other medication, they had other health issues, but it's recorded that over 600 people have died from it as well. So it's huge, but you don't get to hear this. I was one that was really pushed to get medicinal cannabis into Australia. Now, we actually started the production of it, and it was going to take a couple of years before it can be available for the public. And in the meantime, I went to Greg Hunt, and I said to Greg Hunt, while we're waiting for this production in Australia, why don't we bring in the medicinal cannabis that's used in Israel and also that's used in Canada? Now, they've been producing it for 20 years. Now, mind you, any vaccines that are brought into the country, there's usually about 7 years. It's a trial period, 7 years. Some of them even a lot longer than that, a trial period. So when I said to Greg Hunt, can we bring it in? He said, oh no, we've got to do our own testing here. We cannot bring in this medicinal cannabis from Israel, although it's been used for 20 years. So why now all of a sudden we can bring in a drug, a vaccine, a jab, that we are giving to people that is not tried, tested, proven, and we don't know the long-term effects from it? When you actually think of the nursing professions and the doctors, lovely to listen to you, your speech tonight. Doctors are talking to me all the time. They're refusing to have the double vaccination, and they're going to lose their jobs in the next week or two. So they're going to be out of a job because they won't be double vaxxed. Do you know that they can't, one doctor, because he's not being double vaxxed, the hospital in Rockhampton hasn't even got enough doctors to cover the shifts. So people are going into the hospital there to get seen in the emergency, and we haven't got doctors because they won't allow them in the building because they're not double vaxxed. Psychologists are actually being told you can't see patients unless they've been double vaxxed, but they've always said you can't even do it over the phone unless they're double vaxxed. Serious. You know, the nurses say to me, we've been told you can't go into a hospital unless you've been double vaxxed, only in case of emergency. And you know what they said? We haven't even been told what the emergency is. So if you turn up at the hospital, you're not double vaxxed, then you've got a real problem. The nurses here and those nurses that have been tied up in the nursing profession, under the laws in Queensland, they stipulated that they have to have a certain vaccine to be in that, to work there. Why then are they walking away now in their thousands? Estimated about 7,000 in Queensland have now been suspended or walked away from the profession, because they're starting to see adverse side effects from the COVID coming through the hospital systems. That's why they don't want to have it. I just keep wondering, there is a bigger agenda that we've been lined up for. I have always spoken out against the World Health Organisation, I've spoken out against the UN, I've spoken out against these free trade agreements that aren't free trade in our country. I have said this continually. I've been very fortunate to have fantastic staff that work for me, and the work that we get through and what the research that we do. I've had more of an insight and talking to those people that the alarm bells have been ringing in my head. Why the hell is this happening? We need to stand strong. Those people, I'm sure there's a lot of people here that have been vaxxed because you've had to do it because of your jobs. You've been threatened, coerced, bullied, and that's not good enough. The thing is that those ones who do question it and say, and I see them, oh, just why don't you just go and why don't you shut up, go in a corner and just go and get yourself vaccinated? Well, you know what? They're the bloody idiots. Because the fact is that you really need to understand, if you want to follow like sheep and just do what you're told, my parents taught me to actually think for myself, stand up, be independent, and fight for my rights. And that's what I intend to do. I'm up for re-election, and again, I'll say something here about what Tricky said. You know, I've always stood up for what I believe in, and I believe that you can have your protest rallies, but nothing ever changes unless it's on the floor of Parliament. That's where the real fight happens. And that's where you need to get the people on the floor of Parliament. And this, to say, you know, he made a comment about Campbell, Newman and the deals with Clive Palmer. Can I tell you one thing? You might go on about their swapping preferences. They don't. It's only a recommendation that will be on the how to vote cards. The fact is that you hold the pen, you mark the ballot paper, you put your preferences where you want to put it. They are yours. You have a say about who you want to put on the floor of Parliament. I'm up for re-election. I tell you what, this has been a hell of a battle. It's only just lately, in the last 2 or 3 weeks, when I first went to Yeppoon to see the number of people turned out. I went to Morayfield just a couple of nights ago, and there was about 800 to 1,000 people there. Look at tonight, 1,400 people. Good on you. So I didn't know this, and I've stood my ground. And I'm not vaccinated. I will not get vaccinated. And if it means my job, then so be it. I don't know how people are going to feel about me. That you will either decide whether you want to put me back on the floor of Parliament for another 6 years. If not, fine, don't vote for me. I'm not worried about it terribly, but I don't think I'm finished yet. I think I've still got a lot to offer the people of Queensland. I'm not just here tonight covering my backside and just saying because I want to get voted. I have always been upfront and honest with the Australian people and those people in Queensland, and I think it's very important. I cannot stand lies or corruption or dishonesty to the people, especially when it comes to anything. You may not agree with everything that I say, but at least you must be aware that what I say, I say truly with the passion and honesty that I believe in what I'm trying to do. So, you know, one of the speakers said about civil disobedience, and, you know, I'm not going to oppose that. I think go for it. I tell you what, if I still had my fish and chip shop, there's no way in the wide world where I tell my staff to be vaccinated. I would not stop anyone coming into my shop who wasn't unvaccinated, who was not vaccinated. So that's my stance. I can stand here tonight and tell you that because it's all right for me. I'm a politician. I'm still getting my pay. I'm still have the, not freedom. If I went to Canberra, she was going to lock me away in a hotel for 2 weeks. That wasn't going to happen. But the fact is that I said to Simon Birmingham in a question on the floor of Parliament about 2 months ago, I said, Simon, are you actually going to, it was a question to the Prime Minister actually, are you going to tell your members of Parliament, your candidates to get vaccinated? You know what he said? No, it's their choice. Their choice. Politicians, federal politicians do not have to get vaccinated, and our staff are not told to get vaccinated. That's what I can't stand, is that we're being treated totally different to you, the average person, and that is wrong in itself. I just want to thank the organisers for tonight. It's absolutely fantastic. And where you need to go from here, sign the petition. When I spoke at Yeppoon, it was a matter of 2 days after that the council had a special meeting to tell Anastasia Palashchuk that I got no time for that woman whatsoever. So the fact is that they sent a clear message to her that they were a pro-choice council. This is what you have to get your councils. They work for you. There is one councillor here tonight. I met her earlier. I'm sorry I forget your name. She is actually in support of you. So that is fantastic to hear that at least she had the guts to come here tonight. Good. And she is going to try and push with the council to actually get some common sense there to turn this around. But again, don't forget, sign the petition. People power. You can do it. We can do it. And I'm united here, not only as a senator for Queensland, but first and foremost a Queenslander who is a true blue Aussie grassroots that's standing up for my rights. Good on you.